We've got some
Hey, I'm Luis.
And I'm Luis.
And you're listening to the Content is Profit podcast.
Listen.
We spent the last 4 years learning.
Whoa, what happened, bro?
What do you
That was me. Okay, so this is a beautiful thing about going live. Wink, wink. Here we go. I didn't like what I said.
Yeah, you went super fast on that.
Okay.
One. All right, that's fine.
Ready?
Or guess here, I was about to spill the beans and just say your name, but we gotta keep the mystery for the
This is a
audience.
beautiful thing. All right, here we go.
I'm like, or guess here is like, what are
Ready.
these guys doing? You know? All right, let's do it.
Ready?
Boom.
We've got some
Hey,
fresh
I'm
new young
Luis.
talent
And I'm
doing some
Luis.
things that
And you're
I know
listening
you
to the
haven't
Content
heard
is
before.
Profit podcast.
We spent the last 4 years learning the strategies and techniques from some of the top marketers in the world on how to create content that turns into profit.
If you'd like to learn more on how to turn that content into profit, go to contentisprofit.com. Yeah.
Oh yeah, guys, and today we're gonna be talking about massive scale through strategic partnerships with
baby.
an awesome guest that you are already seeing because he's right here.
but Mr.
we're about to introduce him. We're about to give him one of.
Should we blur this for now a little bit?
It'll be pretty cool if we could pixelate it right here. So keep the
Until
surprise.
we have him on. All right. So today we have a special treat for you. Today's guest might be one of the most ambitious people we've had on Content is Profit podcast. He was introduced to us by none other than that Pablo himself. He's actually the second guest we've had in studio.
That deserves a big round of applause. That's right. Today's guest is an incredible entrepreneur that has built multiple seven-figure businesses before the age of 25. That's not even the best part. Just listen to some of his life goals. They are incredible.
That's right. He wants to ensure everyone in the world has access to clean water, provides so much value in the world that he becomes a billionaire and run for president in 2052 and win.
Dude,
What was that?
I love these goals. I
Yes.
love these goals.
Love it.
So much focus and clarity. Absolutely love it. Please welcome founder and CEO of Rabbit and 19 podcast host. We're still debating on the name, right? And probably one of the most honest and straightforward people you'll ever meet, Nathan Ruff. Welcome, Nathan.
Go.
I love this because on the form you put that you didn't like the hype, right? And we're gonna hype
We're
him
just
up.
gonna no, but here's the thing. You said I don't like BS or fake hype. I think this is real hype.
Okay.
Yeah, I should have put I don't like hype.
Oh, okay.
Like
well, too bad. We're not live. I'm sorry. Dude, Nate, first of all, thank you so much, man. We're honored to have you here in the studio at home. Yeah, are you shifting now?
Now I move the
Okay.
mic so I can face Nate.
And yeah, man, we're super honored to have you here, man. Thank you so much for making the time and coming this way.
Yeah, it's good to be in Jacksonville. Really thankful I picked the coldest day of
Of the year, pretty
the
much.
year
year.
to be here. That's real convenient for my, getting a hotel on the beach. But it is what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a beautiful place, except these 2 days of the year. So thank you for coming. At the end of the day,
I know, it's all good. At least we're in house for a little bit. So
Yeah.
Nate, just a little bit. I mean, obviously, we've learned to. We met you a few months ago by now, and we've heard from wonderful friends and from you, right? Your take on life and in business in general. Why don't you share a little bit of your backstory, like where you come from and how this, what you do, why you do what you do now?
Yeah. So grew up in Nashville, Tennessee, on the outskirts, in Bellevue, but still consider Nashville. I hate when people say I grew up in Dallas, and it's like they grew up in another city.
Like forward, and they're like, I lived in that.
Yeah, and it's like, well, that's not Dallas. And so the same way when people are I grew up in Nashville, I grew up in Hendersonville. Like Taylor Swift is from Hendersonville, not from Nashville. So with that being said, grew up in Nashville on the outskirts, though, felt, I guess, a lot like Hendersonville. Was homeschooled my entire life. I'm the youngest of 4. My dad was an IT guy. Mom was a stay-at-home mom and an artist. There's different types of artists. My mom's the type that can paint the entire Constitution on an egg with a one-hair brush, so very fine detail. And I grew up, in a non-wealthy family, and knew that I had to work for anything I ever wanted in life, and was okay with that. That's a good thing. And so I first wanted to. I remember being a kid and being in Kroger and seeing the cover of a GQ magazine and thinking like, wow, one day I'm going to be able to dress like that. And that's why if like you'll see any photos of me anywhere, I'm always in a nice suit. I know I'm not today. I'm kind of traveling.
We're in Florida. We're vacation time.
I brought a suit, and this morning I was debating, like, do I put it on? But yesterday was such a long day. I was like, I just don't have the energy. And I didn't want to get anything dirty because I'm going to a funeral, and that's why I packed a suit.
Yeah.
So anyway, my first goal was my neighbor gave me a Ralph Lauren sweater when I was 11 for Christmas, and I was like, I want more of this. I never had quality like that before, and so that was kind of my, start of my early ambition. Started my first business at 12, watering people's plants. I went door to door and said, for $10 a week, I'll water your plants. Most people said no, so then I dropped it to $9. Everyone said yes, and so I kind of learned pricing at a young age, and like just $1, it's just $4 a month more. I don't know why. But, I guess it matters. And so from there, at 14, I decided I was going to start regripping golf clubs, and I ordered business cards, I did all this stuff. And then I realized I wasn't strong enough to regrip golf clubs. So it's kind of funny. I've just always kind of hopped into things and then figured it out later. Yep. And so in that, I got on Google, and on the 15th page of Google, I found an air compressor attachment where you would shoot the grips in with an air compressor instead of using solvent. Now, solvent smells like gasoline, takes about 48 hours to dry, and I still wasn't strong enough with it. When you use an air compressor, you just use soap and water. It takes 30 minutes to dry, and it doesn't hurt the grip, where solvent over time could crack the grip or whatever. So I started regripping golf clubs with a new process. Which still blows my mind. People to this day, not everybody's using air compressors, which is just a far better. You just shoot it in. And I don't know to this day if I'm strong enough to regrip a golf club on my own. Like I wasn't as a kid. I still don't know if I am as an adult. Started regripping golf clubs, and I volunteered at the golf course. I could play for free. It was a Metro golf course. Yeah. And what I would do is I would play golf all day long during the summer, and I would bet people, hey, if I beat you on this hole, you got to get your clubs regripped. And so I didn't understand that I was a hustler, but I would purposely play bad so that they would accept the bet when I offered it on the fourth hole, which was my favorite hole, and so I could win. And then I found out that was wrong and bad, but I can fully say I had no idea. It's like when Gary Vee talks about picking plants and then selling to the neighbors. Like he didn't know it was wrong. Insane. Didn't know it was wrong. Yeah. And then I eventually started playing with some NFL players and got really into gambling. Then I knew that was wrong, but the money was so good. I was like, well. Wow. And so, anyway, that was 14. 16, I made a mistake doing algebra, which is just me doing algebra is a mistake. I mean, I still to this day don't understand how algebra works. Started a clothing line, a shirt company, and was able to scale that. And that was kind of my first exit at 17. And then at 18, I was like, everybody who's rich is in real estate. That's where I'm going to go. And I go to real estate school. And I make the most wrong assumption of my life, which leads to where I am now, which is I see 50 people in real estate school, and I think these 50 people are going to need websites. They're going to need logos. They're going to need business cards. They're going to need marketing. They're going to need to look different. They need to, build brands. Yeah. But the truth is that 50 go to real estate school, 40 graduate, 20 take their test, 10 pass it, 5 go on to place their license, and 1 goes to sell more than 2 homes a year. And of that 1, he needs to see the value of building a brand. Cool. A good example is one of my clients now, finally, after 7 years, Brad Reynolds, thinkbrad.com. He's sold by himself with no team $100 million worth of real estate.
Ooh. Wow.
Residential, $100 million.
Impressive.
Wow.
Still complained about spending $20,000 for a website. Never had a website until this year when we built his website during the pandemic. Yeah. And the website looks killer, but it's like sells $100 million worth of real estate, doesn't have a website, doesn't see the value in it. No. And so that led me to be like, all right, well, real estate's not the spot for this. And I didn't have any other ideas, so I just kind of kept hustling at it. And then at 21, I realized I was an idiot. And so I accepted the truth about myself, which is something I talk about a lot. It's okay to be an idiot. It's okay to be a bad person. It's okay to be a scumbag, because we have redemption. We're able to change ourselves. We're able to accept the truth and turn from a bad path. Yeah. So I accepted the truth about myself, and then I went on to go start reading 100 books a year. Then went on to build a 7-figure business. Then went on to almost burned down that business because we had no recurring revenue. It was all one-time payments. And so when we worked,
tough lesson.
So when there wasn't deal flow, it's like, oh, and then I still have expenses and, learned a lot from there. Kind of rebuilt it back up, was ready for something new. Been praying for years. Like, God, give me the next, what's next? Is there anyone to cut off that music? It's driving me crazy.
Bam.
There we go.
Like magic. Thank you, God. Thank you, editor. Here we go.
Sorry. You can add it in post if that's okay.
It's all good. It's all good.
And so I was, just God, just give me what is next in my career. I know that I'm talented. I know how to scale businesses. I really understand these things, but I don't want to just hop to something because I'm bored.
Yeah.
And what I never want to do is what every entrepreneur, like a lot of entrepreneurs, when they get success for the very first time, they think they're invisible, and then they go start like 10 other businesses. And so if you meet a fake entrepreneur, this is the case with real entrepreneurs too. So I guess sometimes you'll meet an entrepreneur and they're like, oh, I do this and I do this and I do this and I do this. But if they're acting as CEO of all those companies, then they don't really do anything.
Yeah.
If they actually own something or they're an investor in something, that's being involved in it. But you should really have one singular thing you do. Now, right now, I kind of have two because of the pandemic. It kind of hurt one company. And so then I went back to the other company that was doing well during the pandemic. And I'm probably getting ready with the next 3 months to leave and go right back to the company now that we're post-COVID. Elections ever, post-COVID. And it will be a good time to, scale that back up and I can be full-time there. But I really do believe in just doing one thing masterfully well, super, super well. And then if you need to start another company, hire a CEO, whatever the case is, but really have multiple assets and not that you're just like the CEO of all these different things.
Love it. Thank you for sharing. I mean, one word that comes to mind is resourceful, right? Like you started at this very young age. Probably your background is very different to the majority of people here in United States or in Venezuela where we grew up, right? But what it seems to me, and I think you mentioned you were homeschooled, correct? Like it's a different environment, obviously, than most people go through. And when we came to the United States, our point of view was a little bit different. We weren't homeschooled, but the education system is completely different, right? So maybe is that something that you feel like helped you see opportunities? Because like from the very young age, you started finding these opportunities and you just like tackle them. And something that I wrote here is like commit and then figure out, right? Hustler in disguise. And I relate at a degree because when we were growing up, our parents were like, hey, if you want that, figure out, right? Like you like, I'm not going to give you money, right? So the opportunities there, we ended up going to this like market where we would like buy these soccer t-shirts. They're counterfeit soccer t-shirts. Again, we didn't know that we were doing it wrong, but they looked exactly the same. And we will buy them for like $5 and then we'll go to our private school and we'll sell them for $50, right? And then we're like, oh, sweet. Now I can buy my cell phone, right? And so I relate with that feeling, right? Like, do you think like that environment was somewhat of a trigger to start spotting all these opportunities early on?
I was a really strange kid. I recently interviewed my dad, and he said that the reason they pulled me out of school is because they just didn't know what to do with me. So a good example is during recess when all the kids would go play with all the kids, I would sit there and talk to the teachers when I was 5 years old.
Wow.
So like, everybody would go play, and I wanted to sit there and talk to the teachers. My best friend was my 65-year-old neighbor, Charlie. He was like a construction worker. So I was just always kind of an odd kid. And I was also, I had a lot of confidence and extreme self-assurance that I was going to be fine. I really understood from an early age that money is what ran the world. And so I just was like, all right, I'm going to make a lot of money. And my dad would always say, like, you got to find what you love and become really good at it, and that's how you make money. You don't just set out to make money and then make money.
Yeah.
And he was wrong. That's not the truth. Like, if you want to make money, you got to go find ways to, like, there's a difference between being passionate at something. Like, think about all the amazing photographers and videographers and even businesses that exist, freelancers out there, like, that are really good at their job but don't know how to make money. It's a different thing. Like, saying I want to make money is way different than saying, like, I want to find my passion and be really good at it. Now, and I would always tell my dad, like, my passion's making money, and he's like, that's not a thing. That's not. It's like, yes, it is. Like, that is the enjoyment. Getting deals done is, maybe it's the process of getting a deal done is most exciting.
Yeah.
Like, if I ever see myself entering venture capital, it's because I love, like, seeing something, figuring out our plan of execution, putting the capital behind it. So I love I love taking ideas and making them happen.
Yeah. I feel like you think on a very strategic way of everything, right? I mean, we're having conversations before this, and I could tell too you're a very, very logical person, that you're gonna find this step by step on how I'm gonna do this, and then you go and you do it.
Yeah, I want to have I want to know, have a general idea of what I'm trying to do. And I can be wrong in that, but at least I have all right, this is, that plans change obviously, but I can have a general framework of what I'm trying to accomplish and be very focused on it. Like the ability to be focused on what you're trying to accomplish is huge.
Yeah.
Like my lovely girlfriend who's behind here, we got in a huge fight before the largest meeting of this year for me. This meeting determines the future of my company. I mean, it could be that big. And we were like she was crying, just an awful fight, on our way to this meeting. And I never once showed emotion. I think I raised my voice once, but I was just locked in at I'm trying to handle this, and I'm also dead set on this meeting. And I had to walk into this meeting with her, and that's everything's fine. And because I needed to be locked in, I needed the ability to be emotional here, but also locked in on what actually mattered.
Yeah.
And so I knew that, okay, I have a long time to figure it out with her on where I made a mistake or where there's a miscommunication or whatever the case is. I only have one shot with this meeting I'm about to be in. So clear mental focus is an extreme extreme thing that you can't really I don't think you're born with. I think you just have to be put in enough circumstances to be able to do that.
That's interesting. I was about to ask you, because I know there's a lot of entrepreneurs you just mentioned that they say I do this and that and all this other stuff, and in reality they're not doing anything, right? And for us, a big lesson this year has been focus. Let's do one thing, one service. That's all we're gonna do, right? And that's when we actually started seeing results. So I'm curious, what do you see in these people that is not allowing them to develop that focus, right? What is keeping them away from taking that action that is needed?
Typically, most of these people are just lying to themselves. They're sometimes it's the reason they can't. Sometimes people do 20 different things and make a buck doing all 20 different things is because they need that $20. So they do 20 things and make a buck each. They need that 20, and their lifestyle needs that 20.
Yeah.
So my lifestyle needs $3. And so therefore I don't have to be focused on whether I make 20 or 100 or 1. Because I only I have a fixed where my stuff is. So I think that people, they get a little bit of cash and they're like, okay, cool, it's enough cash to start something else and get even more money.
Yeah.
But what they don't realize is that to build something sustainable, it's got to be much bigger than where it's at now.
Yeah.
So sustainability for you, let's say that you can have the car you want and a nice house and everything you want at 10 clients. But you're not stable at 10. You're just able to support your stuff at 10.
Absolutely.
So at 20 or 30 clients, you're able to actually be stable. And so I think a lot of people think they're far more stable than they actually are, which means when they leave, that company goes down, and so they're always hustling for the next thing.
Yeah.
And so you got to focus on what does actual stability look like?
Yeah.
And so for me, stability looks like if our expenses are $25,000 a month, then I need $75,000 a month of cash flow.
Yeah.
At least locked in for the next 18 months to 2 years. That's stability to me.
Yeah. That's interesting.
And so, because if you think about it, if you're $25,000 of cash flow and you're $20,000 of expenses, you could work. You could have no mistakes, and for 5 months, and then it could be one down month, and you're back to you're then cutting again. So what stable looks like, and so most people, when I say they're lying to themselves, is they're trying to find what's going to produce them enough money.
Yep.
And that's why they did one thing. It's oh, that's not getting what I want. I'll go to this, see if I can get this. They're always trying to find that one hit.
Yeah.
And what I recommend is try to find that in the business you're in. So for example, E112 does design and development. So that's visual branding, that's websites, that's web development, web apps, stuff like that. And recently we built a software for a gym that allows them to start and manage referral programs, essentially. So they're able to start their own referral program and manage it. And, when you listen to Joe Rogan, it's Joe Rogan, or it's athleticgreens.com/Rogan for 20% off. Mm-hmm. So it creates a referral link for every single member of the gym with a free offer on it.
Amazing.
So it's, in this case, it's TitleNash.com for Title Boxing Club, TitleNash.com/Ruff, and you get 2 free classes at Title Boxing Club. And then if you get your 2 free classes and eventually sign up for a membership, then our system notifies them that they need to credit you or credit me for me referring you.
Uh-huh.
So we built that system, and I then partnered with the owner of Title Nashville, which is the #1 location of all Title Boxing Clubs, to go sell to all the other title boxing clubs. So it almost is working like its own company right now, but it's still doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So it's always like, what can you do internally that could help? Like do one thing really, really well.
Yeah.
And then look at different, instead of launching different companies, launch different campaigns inside of your company.
Yeah.
And when I was really scaling the web design company, we didn't look at like, oh, here's a campaign. Like we tried 10 campaigns at once and just see if any of them stick. Just kind of always throwing out, like if all your focus is on one company, you can always be marketing, doing everything for that company.
Yeah. Dude, I find fascinating how your mind works, right? Like, and because it's been very rare that we've been having conversations like this one, right? To the positive. And you know, past interactions, like when we met you, you were very clear and very honest. You're like, hey guys, you know, I'm literally straight to the chase, right? Like if I don't like it, I'm going to tell you. This doesn't mean X, Y, Z. It means, you know, this, right? Yep. And I remember we had a call, an example, the music, right? You're like, dude, I don't like that. Like, can you shut it up? I'm like, absolutely, man. Like, and no offense taken, nothing, because it is what it is, right? And I love that. And then the other one is like we had this side of the process that we implement with a lot of our clients, which has been coming from their feedback, and maybe because of our technical abilities, right, cannot be better or like at another level, right? It solves a problem. But I remember having that conversation, and when we presented to you, like the first thing, I'm picking up the phone, right? And I'm like, man, he's gonna be so excited. This is finally up, right? And what you say is like, man, like I was disappointed, right? And I was like, what? Right? And I'm like, man, but at the same time, like it took, and I think like it's been like this last year has been massive growth personally and in the business too. So because I had that conversation with you earlier, I was like, man, like this is going to be constructive criticism, right? It's one of those things, it's a sample, right? Like we're throwing it out there. And then immediately after, what you said was like, hey, what is your dream that, right? And we're talking about the content hub, like for those that are familiar with the service, like what is your dream content hub? And until you asked that question, I really didn't think about that, because I was solving an issue that my current clients have, but I'm not looking for 2, 3, 4 years ahead. And in your head, you're there, right? So we're like, man, like that spark, we came back in here and we're like, this is a very interesting question, because now, like, if you have a clean slate, right, like it's still a vertical of the business,
what
right?
does perfect look like? I always ask that to our clients. What does perfect look like? What does ideal look like?
Are you asking me for real now?
No. He said he asked to his clients.
Exactly. Exactly.
Like if we're going to build something, I need to know what perfect looks like.
Exactly. So in my eyes, right, for the current clients that we have, what the solution that we have is perfect for them, right? We've had people saying like, we signed up with you guys because of that, right? So in my head, right, because I'm serving them, there's no need, right? But then you come along and was like, man, we can elevate this so much, right? And it's interesting. So I encourage everybody listening and watching that to have those conversations, right? To be open about it. Was that something that was innate to you, or you had to learn it?
You know, I think that's very consultant minded. And my dad is super negative, is how I always described him. But he says, well, I used to turn around plans. And so I had to go in there, identify all the problems, and then like put together a plan to fix them all. So maybe it's not being negative. Like I never try to be negative on things. I'm just noticing things, and I do always think about business.
Yeah.
And so I don't know how it is. I'm just always trying to look I'm trying to build things that scale. And so when I look at like a content hub, I'm like, man, this is useful for a bunch of different businesses. I could probably charge you $100 a month to give you an awesome content hub that did everything your clients could ever want. And, you know, so I look at that, I'm like, cool, this is the reason I want to create a perfect one of this. I'll give it to you guys for free. You'll be my test dummies on it. It'll be great. And then together we can go sell it to everybody else that does this kind of thing. It's like, look, this is the best content hub. And then we all are building our recurring revenue. And it's like, it's just, so I'm scaling a product inside the existing company.
Yeah.
I love it. It's like you live with a constant like scaling mentality. And I actually wanted to, you know, preface this question with, I was listening the other day to a podcast with,
and I had to learn that, because you got to think, I built a company that hit zero because I had no recurring revenue. So I was like, cool, I want to scale things. I want to scale things that pay me monthly.
Absolutely.
So that if things fall off, I can still like pay bills.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it makes sense, right? And what I'm saying, like, it reminds me of this conversation with Phil Jones. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's a salesman from the UK.
Yeah, Phil M. Jones. Yeah. Is that his Instagram? Yeah, I follow him.
And he was talking about not aiming to be he says, I don't want you to think about terms of best, because he says best implies that there's a ceiling. He says, I want you to think in terms of better, right? So how can I be better? And then how can I be better? So you keep growing every single time. And I think that's how you are approaching all these things. When you see something, you're like, how can I make this better? Your question is, how can I make this perfect, right? But then when you get there, is there another perfect after that, right?
So everybody spends so much time defending things sucking. Oh, well, this didn't work out because you got me access late, or this or the content or the video wasn't high enough quality. It's like always defending. Mm-hmm. So if you approach things like this is just the strategy, then I'm not defending it. I'm just throwing out, this is the plan and this is what we went with. If it failed, cool, we'll mark up another plan.
Yeah.
Like right now we're working on this healthcare deal together.
Yeah.
And I've said from day one with them is like, oh, we don't have results yet. It's like, that sucks. Like, we're just as disappointed as you. We're going to keep grinding, keep trying, because like the goal is that like there is a problem and you hired us to solve it. And I gave you a strategy that I thought would lead to success. It has not led to success yet. And that is okay. We're going to keep iterating. We're going to keep trying. We're going to keep, because I never promised you that's going to work.
Exactly.
You hire me to build a website for you. You hire me to build a platform for you. You hire me for consulting. Like if JWB hires me to build their studio, I can guarantee you it will work right. I'll put it in a contract because you're hiring me to do a certain thing. But if you're hiring me to solve a business problem, unless I guarantee it, then it's just a strategy that I'm working hard to implement and make successful.
Yeah.
And I have nothing to defend, because it's like, I'm just as pissed as you are.
Yeah.
It's all about positioning. And so when people position themselves, they do anything to get the deal, and then they get the deal and it doesn't go as they want it to go. And they're like, oh, and so they're it's defense. But when you told them from day one, 50% chance this probably fails, because most strategies do, they're like, all right, I appreciate that he's honest. I appreciate that we know what, like I just want to set level, honest conversations, or expectations. I mean,
I think you're.
And I want to
really
do that via honest level conversations.
Yeah, and do that. I think you're great at setting the expectations and boundaries. Right? It's like, hey, this is what we're expecting, and this is what you guys can expect from us as well, right? And
like the reason I tell people that we charge so much is because I want to never say no to you. Like the reason I charge a lot is because when you call me at 1 a.m. and say, "Can we do this?" I go, "Yeah, no, not a problem."
Yeah.
But guess what? If you're gonna pay me like a lot less, then no, I'm gonna be a dick to you, and I'm gonna have like a standard, like you have this much, you can talk to me about this much stuff.
Yeah.
Dude, okay, so I love that, because we sell a little bit of higher ticket service to whatever the competition or whatever, like whoever is doing something similar to us, right? And one of the things, like, you guys have access to us, right? Like, and with a lot of people that we've been like helping with the platforms and do this, there are people that are starting up with like a service or something, right? And a lot of people are really scared to jack their prices up, right? For example, right? I'm gonna give you an example. We're working with this coach in Colombia, right? That he lived in the corporate environment, and he had like this massive desire to coach people, right, on his thing. He has a thing called LMT, right? But he didn't know who he wanted to coach, really. Like, he didn't have like a dream client. Like, it was like, I just want to coach people, right? So we're like, okay, start publishing. That's the first thing that you got to do. Start saying your message out there, see who resonates with this. So he starts doing it. He does 45 days of straight Facebook Lives. He gets some responses here and there, starts crafting his message. And then he launches a podcast, right? A platform, which in South America, it might be like less people might be doing it than here in the States. And that elevates your status, right? So with that, right, as you're elevating your status, as you're elevating your trust factor, like your different things, right, you could potentially charge more for whatever service, right? So then he ends up in a conversation with a human resource manager of a massive company. And this human resource manager was like, hey, we want to hire you, right? We've listened to your content. We've been around this, and we trust you. We understand what you're saying. And I think like you could add a lot of value to our team. Well, the team was 200 people, right? So it's the first time in his life that he's selling something for a company to 200 people, right? So in his mind, he's like, I don't know how much I'm going to charge, right? I have no idea. It's the first time I do this. So what he says is like, hey, I want this to be a long-term relationship, right? So you come back with, a proposal, right? Like, and then we'll make it happen, right? But in his mind, he's like, I have no idea what to charge you. So the reaction of that other person was like, man, like I don't know if we can afford you, right? And then they come back with a proposal, and it was like almost 3 times more of what he thought he was gonna get. So why do people in business, especially when they're starting up, right? And I honestly don't think that you had this problem, but why do you think people struggle so much with charging more?
Yeah, it's like I feel like valuing themselves, right? Like they devalue themselves.
So there's a lot of reasons, but the biggest is you have bills. Like, I need this deal to go through to be able to pay my bills. Mm-hmm. So it's just about, like, I got needs I got to fulfill. And a lot of people miss out on that. A lot of people are like, oh, well, just say no, to the wrong client. No, say yes to the wrong client if it pays your rent.
Yeah.
Like, having a roof over your head is more important than being happy. It's like, yeah, of course, in perfect world, in dreamland, in Lollyland, like, all my clients are great and they'll pay me a ton of money. And it's like, yeah, we have terrible clients. Mm-hmm. Like, some are just too demanding and annoying. But guess what? I got bills. Yeah. Like, I got a sweet pinball machine in my house. I got a sweet studio because people paid me. And you know what? Sometimes my life is stressful because of it. But it's like, I understand that I got bills and, like, this is the road to it. So, like, there's part of it. It's like that people have, like, unless you have, a guy I know who he saved 3 years salary before he left his company to start his own business. From day one, he's never accepted one client that isn't a good fit. He doesn't have to. He saved 3 years of salary. Exactly. No pressure, no financial. So financial pressure is why people do that to themselves. If there's no financial pressure, people don't do that because it's only about the deal, the value you're providing, the client, everything else.
Yeah. It's not fun. I mean, I was going to say it's funny that you mentioned that, but it's not really fun. Like, it's real, right? Like, we experienced that. At first, we're operating from a place of need a few years back where, every opportunity was like, yes, 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 right? And through that 1,000 yeses that we said, we were able to discover what we're really good at first, right? So we're like, then we started, filtering the people are like, well, we don't do that anymore. You can go here, right? And then we really focus on this. And then it was like, narrow it down to the type of content that we produce now. Like, you're very familiar with it. So people come in like, hey, you guys do content. Like, can you guys do a wedding video? And we're like, absolutely no. Right? We can send you to like Nate's photographer and videographer. That's amazing. By the way, we're going to put the link of the video that we're just watching. If you let us know, you put it in the comments, which is amazing. Anyways, so through that journey, right, like, we learned to do that. And then when we came to a place of abundance where we like filter the thing through execution, right? Like you said, you start saying yeses. Then we got to this point where we're now have the luxury to kind of pick and choose ish, right? Or have the conversation with people that we think it will be a great fit for the service, which delivers recurring revenue month after month, right? So you're totally right, man. I think, we were in that position and it was challenging at first because of that identity, I guess, like trying to find it.
It's good to challenge. It's good to have tough things. It's good to have bad clients. I have an old employee who texted me like at 1 a.m. last night, and I was asleep, but I saw this morning, and it was just like, oh, I'm going to quit. My boss is so terrible, and this, and, it's like all these things, and I guess she thinks I don't know, I'm like kind of thinking like, why are you telling me? We don't talk. It's not like we're like, she worked for me, and then like, maybe I wish her like happy birthday every year, like, it's not like I'm like, I don't follow her on Instagram, like we're not that close of friends or anything.
Yeah.
And, but she sees, okay, you're a business owner, you know how this stuff works, like, and I told her, I was like, look, your boss is difficult, and you're at a large company. There's a way to get them fired. There's a way to document everything they do that's difficult, go to HR and make a case for it. And so right now you're thinking, life's tough, I want to run from it. When the answer is no, run into it. Like understand that there is a war, and this is maybe, or maybe there's been a bunch of battles, and you've been losing those battles, but the war's not over, and you need to put together a strategy to win the war. And sometimes, like, if the problem is your boss, but you like what you do and you like your company, then getting your boss fired or boss reformed, or whatever the case is. She said like 6 people had quit that worked for the boss and all these things. Then the key is to get rid of that boss and make that your target and your end goal. And so it's identifying the problem and then attacking it.
Absolutely.
I don't know what question I was answering when I got into that.
I mean, I think it evolves a little bit about, business and how we operate as far as like, are we really happy with this? Like, do we have the security?
Yeah. So that's the thing. It's like, the problem is like, oh, I'm unhappy at work. Well, why are you unhappy? Because of one single thing. All you do is need to fix that one thing, which is the boss. You don't need to change what you do. You need to change your pay. It's just this one. You just got to fix that one problem. Yeah. So when people get a bad client, they're like, oh, this client sucks. Okay, what sucks about them?
Exactly.
And it's like, oh, they never pay on time. Okay, cool. Tell them that I don't do work until I'm paid. Problem fixed.
Yeah.
This client, they demand too much. Okay, we'll set restrictions on how much they can demand. This client doesn't value me. Well, do they pay you? Cool. Like, if they don't, like, why does that bug you if they don't value you? That's a you problem, not a them problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. And I think that talks onto what you were saying on, people become defensive. It's like, oh, it's because of this, try to put excuses on the exterior when most things is like, let me look inside.
Yeah.
And I think that goes back to your story when you said you turned 21 and you said I realized I was an idiot, right?
Yeah, I never read before. I just kind of just got by. Like, I knew how to make money, but I didn't really know anything.
Yeah.
I knew how to provide value. I knew how to do what I said I was going to do because I was raised in a household that's what you did. But and so therefore I had good integrity and all these other things, but I didn't have like a clue about how anything actually worked.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd ever paid taxes before. So I had to pay back like an insane amount to the IRS. Like, I just didn't know how things worked. You don't learn that stuff.
Yeah.
I was homeschooled. I didn't learn that stuff.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'm curious, what was it that led you to that, like you said, redemption, right?
So what it was is that I, from a very, very young age, was like, I want to be a CEO of a massive company. Like, that's what I wanted. I want to scale a massive company and be the CEO of a massive company. And so when I would Google, like, what do CEOs do? And it's like, they read a lot. Okay, I guess I got to do that.
Got to start reading.
It's one of those things. I didn't read because I wanted to read it because I was interested. I eventually got there.
Yeah.
But I just knew that, okay, everybody who's gotten this role of a CEO, every single person, they read a ton. The average CEO reads 50 books a year.
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right, well, I don't think I'm going to be any different than that. Now, there's another way to look at it. Another way is you hear Gary Vee say that he's written more books than he's read, and you're like, cool, I'm going to be the massive CEO and not read. But I'm not good at math, but when I look at how for every 10,000 CEOs, there's one Gary Vee that was able not to read and get there. And my friend Chandler Welling, who just got acquired. Congratulations, Welling Media.
Yeah, let's go.
And he's partially acquired. Now he's a member in like a fund, and they're an acquired. I mean, it's just a really cool setup. He's never read before, ever. I don't think he's ever read a book. And that's like one of his things. And it's like, that's cool. He made it. I mean, like, insane people intelligence and overall great guy. But, so there are, for every 10,000 CEOs, there is the Gary, there is the Chandler. But for me, I was like, cool, I want a better chance.
Absolutely.
So
I'm going to be the chance of the other 9,998, right? Of course. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, because it's not like there's very rarely there's something special about somebody. It's just that they put in the hard work.
So why do you think like people avoid that? Because like here's my thought. Like, I feel like a lot of people tend to escape, right, from or fight against that, right? Like, they see like these people up there, like the CEOs, right? We're very big fans of Business Wars, right? And you have like this novelized like series of like awesome big companies, right, against each other, and you start identifying these traits of the people that are leading that, right? And then you start in investigating and like finding out a little bit like what they did, right? So if I want to be there, like what you said, makes complete logic, right? And we think the same. It's like, dude, if we want to be there, like, let's do what they did, right? Like, for the amount of time that they did it, right?
Success, leave clues, right?
Absolutely. But I feel like the majority of the people, right, of the environments that we were in before, try to go against it. Like, no, they did it, awesome, but I'm going to try it my way. Why do you think people react that way, right? Are they not cut up for that? Like, what's the thing?
So I always say we're all broken in need of a savior. And so with that, I think all of us have a little bit of pride in us.
Yeah.
All of us have a little bit of ignorance in us. So there's just, we're mankind, like we're imperfect people. And it's very easy to say the bat's been against, like, there's very easy when there's not chaos to want to create it. And so sometimes the pride keeps it. If this is the answer everybody says, then I'm not going to do it because, I didn't go to college. Everybody said that was the answer. It's like, well, it doesn't mean that the other side's always the better way, Like, I didn't go to college either, but it's like, so there's just environments and things change. But I think that people, it's just like pride. And like, I think that's what it comes down to. It's just human nature, our fallen selves. And like, they don't, they're not looking at this from like a logical, clear-minded, no ego, no, like they're other things are coming into factor
Yeah,
here.
absolutely.
And so again, it starts with like accepting the truth about yourself. And so if you're not willing to accept the truth about yourself, I don't know, and it's hard to where we go from there, right?
Yeah.
Like it's easy for me to look in the mirror and go, wow, I can be a narcissist. Like I can see that about myself. I can see that I have, like, if you look at most people that are type A or number 8 on the Enneagram, especially as me, or like on the DISC profile, I'm like pretty much 100% D. Like I have my personality type is that of 98% of CEOs in the U.S. And so I understand.
Great chances now. Sweet. Yeah.
And so I look at that, and I don't know if that's because that's been my goal for so long. And I was essentially foreign, or I was made to be that way, or whatever the case is. I don't know that.
Yeah.
But I do know that I don't fight against what exists. And I don't fight against, like, I try to just take my ego and my pride out of things and be like, all right, this is just the way things are.
Yeah.
And so when you look at people who are refusing to do that, it's like typically they're trying to hold, like, they want to hold back. There's something there. I mean, it's a tough question. It's really tough to answer, but there's something about people are so in their business that they can't see outside their business, and therefore they don't understand like how to blow it up, and they just think that they're the answer.
Yeah.
You know, when you're never the answer, it's like your next hire is the answer.
Yeah.
Like it's never about what I can do. I'm one person. I'm one single person. I could die today. Like it's just, I don't really matter in the equation. It's really about my next hire. It's like when there's a problem in my company, it's because like a developer messed it up. So what's my answer? Get a better developer. You know, it's like, it's so very really it's about you. It's just about like your next hire, and these things are like, sometimes about the sacrifices you have to make. I mean, you know, when I see people that have a company that does $2 million a year and they take $1 million off the table for themselves, it's like, yeah, well, of course your company's never going to scale or grow. You take every bit of juice there could be to grow and keep it for yourself. Like, of course. So until they make that sacrifice to take 200 off the table and still live an amazing life.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I don't know, there's a lots of ways to answer that question. You really got to go case by case, but I do think that people's egos play a big role in that.
Yeah. Do you think people can actually change their personality, right? Because right now you mentioned this like personality test, for example, that you did, right? But do you think it's someone, right, that is listening to this right now, they're like, I don't fit there right now, but I do want to be there.
Yes, you got to accept the truth, which is like, okay, the truth is that people that get things done are typically very assertive. People that build companies are assertive. People that doesn't mean that people that build companies are great at PR.
Yeah.
That means that you could be a great operational guy, and that's why, like, you don't have to be an introvert or extrovert to build a company.
Absolutely.
But you might understand like these different traits. Like, okay, I need to be more clear in my communication. I need to be better. Like, for example, if you really struggled with getting no's, then you should try to do something where you get a ton of no's. You know, I would never recommend somebody join a multi-level marketing company because it's the worst decision you'll ever make in your entire life. But on the other end of that, if you want to join a cult and then go sell all your friends to join this cult, that's where you're going to get a bunch of no's, and a lot of people are going to talk a logical reason to you, and you're going to, you know, if you're dumb, you're just going to continue. You all just don't get it. You know, you buy the toilet paper and then you sell it for a markup. You know, I don't know.
But you'll get getting rejection,
yeah,
right?
like there's something about just like building where you fall. So like my problem is I have almost no empathy, like almost none. It's like my biggest problem in relationships and everything in my entire life is that I really struggle to be empathetic. And so like I'm in counseling now for it. I'm in fights constantly about it. I've been reading some books about it. I do audiobooks, listen to podcasts. Like I'm trying to be more, because I understand that it's like a big shortcoming. It did help me. And it does help in business, but on the other end, it's like a pretty terrible, like, you know, like guess who else didn't have probably empathy? Hitler probably didn't have empathy. Yeah. You know, I don't want to be Hitler. Like, you just got to like recognize some truths about yourself. Like, I'm accepting about my truth. The truth of myself, which I don't have a lot of empathy.
Yeah.
Where people go wrong is like, I have plenty of empathy. I'm fine.
I was actually going to ask about that too, you know, because I mean, not like I don't think you have empathy, but I know it's like clear communication, right? And again, we said it in the intro. You're one of the most honest people that we've met, right? And that sometimes comes out of man, like he doesn't care about me, right? And some people feel that, right? And I'm not saying this because he didn't say that to me when you told him about the content.
I promise. That's such a good thing, though.
You
Like,
have
that's-
nothing to do. You
Yeah.
have nothing to do with your business.
Yeah, no,
We're just
absolutely.
talking to George Bryan the other day. It's like that's the thing, right? Like we get attached to the other people's results. We don't have to,
Exactly,
right? Like
we don't have- yeah.
And you go ahead. Sorry.
No. So
You're on fire.
that was my. I was just wondering, where do you see being empathetic in this equation is, right? But you just answered it.
So here's the thing, like how I see it, right? I think I'm too empathetic, right? Like and I struggle with that for the longest time. Like I used to manage a few fitness locations here in town, and I had a very hard time making decisions because I was too empathetic with the people that were working for me, right? Like I would get to like very close like relationship with them, like as a friend, and then making the business decision was really hard.
Yeah.
So it was like the complete opposite.
And the reason it was hard is because you didn't set it up right.
Exactly.
So it's not about, you can still be just as empathetic, but it's about setting it up right. So from day one, you said, look, I'm going to be your best friend. It's who I am. I'm a people person. I love people. I love the team. I'm going to do anything to help you grow. I'm going to do I'm going to be on your side 100%.
Yeah.
But look, one day I might have to make a decision to fire you. One day I might have to make things that I don't control, but I have to, I have to do these things as part of running the business or running these stores, that I have to do this. And I want you to know it has nothing to do with our relationship. We could be best friends and I could fire you.
Yeah.
Like, that has nothing to do with our relationship. This just has to do with work, and I have to do my job to the best of my ability, and I can't play favorites. Because if I play favorites, then there's going to be way
consequences,
more
yeah.
problems.
Yeah.
Wow.
Where were you
love that.
6 years ago? Yeah, we didn't meet 6 years ago. I would have loved to use that. But, I learned it the hard way, right? Like I had a situation where, we had to like let go of somebody, and dude, it was like really painful for both of us, right? Like, because of that, like you didn't set it up right. And then, when we started handling the clients, also clear expectations with them, right? Then because, we have
Look at the Graham thing. This healthcare contract we're working on. I did not just say that word now. They're fine. I've said, like, hey guys, there's a good chance that Bobby and I get renewed because we have all the content now. We have all the micro content. We've done all the interviews, which is Pablo and your guys' job in that equation.
Yeah.
And now they want to keep me on to continue to work on strategy and landing pages and graphics and just weekly calls to talk strategy, and Bobby on to continue to run every single ad on every single platform to figure it out.
Yeah.
And so I've said that from day one, that there's a chance that because this is a 4-person team, that this team gets divided up on what's needed. They might look and say, okay, we have 300 videos.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to produce more. And that doesn't define our relationship at all. I mean, cool, that was a great 3-month contract. We paid on time the first month.
every month.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, every month.
Y'all auto-billed me accidentally. But
Shout out to Stripe. Sorry.
but there is this thing of just clear expectations and honesty of hey guys, as long as our identity isn't wrapped up in this contract and it's wrapped up outside of this, and this is just a thing that exists, and we have clear expectation of what's going to happen and what could happen, then everything's fine.
Yeah, and I think that leads into strategic partnership. I was going to ask you what does that mean to you, right? And at the end of the day, that's an entry point, right? Like now our relationship is at a different level, personally and professionally, and that can lead to other opportunities. So what does that mean to you? Like, what is a strategic partnership to you?
Yeah, so think about who has your customer and then partner with them. So a good example is if you own a gym, then there's a good chance that Smoothie King and the fitness shop, what's a vitamin shop, vitamin store?
GNC,
I
vitamin
think
shop, yeah.
So there's a good chance that if you own a gym, that GNC has your customers. So your first move should be, how do I partner with GNC? Because see, I want to do things that scale. And by that, I mean, I want to do one partnership that could lead to 100 memberships. I don't want to go individually sell gym memberships to one person, another person, another person, another person. I want to do things that it's like people working for me through partnerships. So a good example is, hi, I'm a photographer, and I do corporate photography for tons of businesses. Hi, photographer. If you refer me web work, because all these people need websites, and they might be hiring you because they have a new website, but they're not happy with their new website after it launches, and we can manage existing websites. We don't have to build it. You're going to work with people that everybody you work with as a corporate photographer has a website. I'll give you 20% of the total contract. So a $50,000 website, you're going to have a pretty nice payday. 20% of that, $10,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
And all day long, because that's what my sales guy would get. My sales guys would get paid 20%. So I offer the same thing to whoever the marketing partner is.
Of course.
Same for you guys. If you all refer to me a web work, I would give you 20% of the deal. And And so that's a strategic
Take
partnership.
notes.
Yeah.
Take notes, Fonzie. Come on.
Okay.
Good.
So that is a strategic partnership where
Yeah.
it's who has my customer. So I want to do things that get me that you're selling for me, so I don't have to sell anymore. And so when you look at like American Express Platinum Card, gets you gold membership at Hilton. It gives you $40 off at Ray-Ban. It gives you all these things because Ray-Ban goes, okay, we can run all these ads and all these things to give people $40 off, or we can go to Amex and say, hey, give all your card members this discount. And so Amex goes, sweet. All our card members just got this discount.
Value add, yeah.
And it's just there. And we get access to their millions of customers. And so, and on the back end of that, they're probably going to cut all the revenue from that order when that promo code's used, whatever the case is. But strategic partner. Look how every big company does things. Like they do strategic partnerships.
Yeah.
And look at a paint shop. A paint shop, you'll go there and say, hey, I want to get this paint in. And they go, okay, well, you'll need to get your bumper repaired. And we don't do bumper repair, but that company does. Look at doctor's offices. They go, hey, you need to be on these drugs, and we recommend this pharmacist.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's a strategic partnership. That pharmacist went to that doctor and created a strategic partnerships. That's how companies grow.
Yeah.
Companies grow via strategic partnerships. So when you ask people like how are you planning on scaling? It's like, oh, word of mouth. It's like, cool. Well, you're not going to scale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like have fun. Like I treat people amazing. Like nobody's ever like I'm gonna say almost no one is ever upset over something we do or we mess up kind of thing, or we don't make a ride if we were to mess up. Like that almost never happens. We do everything right and by the book, and we're really good at taking care of people. And guess what? We very, very rarely get referrals. That's why we offer 20%. That's why we're always trying to create partnerships.
Yeah.
So a good example is when I blew up the agency, how I did it was through doing white label services. So I would go to other agencies and I would go, look, I know for a fact that you don't build your websites in-house and you outsource to some shitty group in India, and you feel bad about it because it just feels gross that you're paying somebody $10 an hour in another country, not supporting the local economy. So let me tell you this. We got a group of U.S. developers, and we do the exact same, and we're a little more expensive, but not a lot more expensive.
Yeah.
And I want you to send the white label work to me, and it will still, we'll still do all the work, and you still get to put your logo on and say you did it, but just we want that work. And so those strategic partnerships. And so that's how I look at scale and growing a business is through partnerships. And that's how I look at partnerships is I say, who's my customer? Who has my customer? And so let's look at Rabbit. So Rabbit makes a kiosk 9 by 12 inches that rents power bricks with the cords built in. We solve the problem of people's phones dying. There's been solutions, but they didn't solve the problem, or at least they didn't solve the problem in the way that the customer wanted, which means that they have complete freedom. They can grab it and go, rent and return anywhere. They can keep it. They can recharge themselves after they keep it. It's affordable, just $1 an hour, whatever the case is. So we have everything figured out on product side. Now we just got to scale.
Yeah.
So what do you think has a better chance? Me going to LinkedIn, adding the CEO of a hospital on LinkedIn, inviting him to lunch, getting to know him, and then spending a year to close that deal, maybe, if he just happened to set my invite and happened to grab lunch, even though he's the CEO of a billion-dollar corporation, or if I make a partnership with with a guy that sells them all their medical equipment. Like a guy who's known that, like, let's say that CEO's kid goes to a private school, and I know a guy whose kid also goes to that private school. I have a better chance of that guy saying, hey, give me 5% of the deal. I'm going to reach out to him. I'm going to pitch him, show him this because he listens to me. I coach his kid's team or whatever. That's a strategic partnership. And that's a weird one. And I like to be more clear than that. But like you have to look at like with Rabbit, we didn't think, okay, knocking on every bar and be like, can we place this unit here? It's a weak approach. It sucks. It takes forever.
Yeah.
Talking to a franchise attorney that only works with franchises that have 100 plus locations and saying, hey, you bring me into these locations, we'll give you a cut of all the revenue these units produce.
Yeah.
Then he goes, hey, John, that he's worked with for 20 years, scaling him to his 300 franchises. We want to put these in every one of your franchises. Done deal, 300 placed overnight. That's a strategic partnership.
Yeah.
So what's easier? That I go to each McDonald's in the U.S. and I knock, and I'm like, can I talk to the GM? Like, you'll need to talk to corporate. I email corporate, and corporate's like, we don't know you, so therefore we're not going to respond or give you a chance today, or we're going to listen to your presentation. And I'm like, oh, wow, that's really cool. Best of luck. We all know how that game works.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how good you are. It doesn't matter how, like, nobody cares about the value you actually provide. They care about the relationship.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I'm obsessed with, like, doing the best, but it's like, it comes down to the relationship. It's why shitty companies exist, because typically the owner has good relationships.
Yeah.
He knows the right people. Like, it doesn't. You don't have to be good. You just have to know the right people so you can scale something, and that's how you make money.
Is that saying is not what you know, but who you know, right? And like something that I've noticed about you is that you have an incredible network, right? And I heard in one of the podcasts that you did with Pablo was that you were trying to move and stay in a city for a certain amount of years so you can expand your network and then eventually move to the other one. And I'm curious, obviously this is one of the reasons why you have this big network for strategic partnerships. How do you go, about creating these partnerships for your business and for Rabbit or personal, right?
Yeah. So it's all done through relationships. I sit down with Chad that I go to church with or whatever, and I go, hey, Chad, who do you know in hospital, in like the hospital group? Oh, I know Barry. Man, would you make an email intro to Barry for me? Just tell him I'm working on something cool. I'd love to cut him in on a deal. Hey, Barry, Nathan Ruff, I brought you a carrot. This is how it works. I know you have the relationships to be able to get this everywhere. And obviously, I'd want to pay you for that. And, we might need to get to know each other, and you need to use it yourself. So I'm even willing to, I got a extra kiosk in my car. You just want to put it at your house. It's unlocked to do unlimited free rentals. Just play with it yourself. Thankfully, people get the concept around, like, this is the coolest thing ever. It doesn't exist. With web design, it's a little differently. But I'll answer the question for Rabbit because it's a little easier. So there was a guy that was there's a banker. And he was trying to get me to bank with him, which is great. When somebody's trying to get you to switch to them, you can leverage it. And I was like, well, maybe if you make some intros for me.
That would be great.
And so he made actually 5 really high-level intros. One got me on Shark Tank.
Sweet.
Apparently. I mean, I'm not legally allowed to ever say that, and I would never, it got me on a Shark Tank-like show or a show. It got me on a show.
Yeah.
That was like Shark Tank, Anyway, that's all I can say about that. So he made that intro, and he made another intro. That intro was a guy that was over a payment processing company with 400,000 merchants. And so I said, hey, it'd be really cool if your payment processing company could just place all our units and all your merchants. Just throwing it out there. I mean,
absolutely.
it's kind of like, it'd be cool if you gave me that Ferrari over there. But see, the difference between if you asked somebody for a Ferrari and they gave you a Ferrari, I pretty much stole it. I didn't do anything for it and didn't any work for it. So you have to create a fair exchange. And so with this, it's saying, hey, I would love to go live at all your 440,000 merchants. In exchange, that's probably about $400 million a year in revenue for us. So do you want a percentage of our company? And therefore, if we sell for $1 billion, because let's say we sell for 2x revenue, that you have a big exit, or do you just want a percentage of all the revenue produced at all the units you place? And what could that look like? Or do you want something else? It needs to be a fair exchange. I don't want you just to place 4,000 units and get nothing in return, because then I'm always going to feel bad. It's going to feel weird. I want a fair exchange. What does fair look like? And so the conversation is always just around partnership and around almost it being a new business partner. With the software we built for Title Boxing Club that we're now selling to all these, we hope to sell to all gyms, but we've been selling to other Title Boxing Clubs because it's been easy. Me and the owner of Title Nashville, Tyler, who's the #1 franchise in the nation for several years, it was like, okay, I want to partner with this on you, and I'll give you a high percentage of all the recurring revenue. You make nothing on the one-time fees because that's like actual cost to get it set up.
Yeah.
And then, we just split the recurring revenue that comes from this product we sell. Like strategic part, it made sense to him because he's like, cool, I already have all these relationships that I'm not monetizing.
Yeah.
Here's a chance for me to monetize them. Made sense for me because I've already built a product and I'm ready to get out there and make more, everybody wins. And so that's a fair exchange.
Exactly.
And that's another thing is like actually monetizing relationships. And so like you can have all these relationships, like Condoleezza Rice probably, like she's the only woman member of Augusta National. Like her network is insane. But because she's not a corrupt politician, her net worth is only like $1.5 million, $2 million. Like, you know, for somebody who's like the only female member of Augusta National, which is a pretty crazy thing, but she doesn't have any way to monetize. She doesn't do coaching. She doesn't do buyouts. She doesn't, you know, she's not the Clinton family. Sorry. You know, but that's what I'm saying is like, you gotta have a way to monetize an audience. And so, and the more people you know, the more you can help other people. So for example, yes, I might get paid when I refer somebody, but the thing is that because I actually don't care about, my dad got screwed over by someone, and as everybody put this guy that got screwed over, including my dad, on a pedestal. So one of my early life lessons was don't put people on pedestals. Yeah. And so the truth is, your SD card limited, space remaining.
We're good. We're good.
So
we have about 15 minutes. Okay. We're Gucci.
So the truth is that if another company comes along and they do the same amount of work as you or better for a cheaper price, I'm going to go with them. Your relationship doesn't mean anything to me in that regard because I have to do what's best for the interest of my clients and best in who provided the most value. Now, because of a relationship, I'm going to go to you and say, look, their work's about the same and their price is cheaper. And I've had that happen to me. People say, look, Nathan, like they're doing the exact same thing as you. Their work is great and they're $5,000 cheaper. And I'm like, go with them. And if it doesn't work out, you can always come back to me. I'm not, you know, like, you know, we're having I'm not going behind your back. We're having an honest conversation about this.
Absolutely.
And so it's just about like, you know, and some people, they only like when you only refer your friends, then you typically get it's just a bunch of shitty referrals. And so it's not about who voted for who for president or somebody's president. It's not about anything. Like you remove all politics of everything.
Outside, yeah.
And it's just about the value they provide. So I'm looking for a green energy consultant. All right, here's this dude that thinks socialism is better than capitalism. A view that I don't have at all. I think capitalism is how you solve all the world's problems. Yeah. But if he's really good at green energy consulting and he's, you know, he fits what my client's looking for, I'm going to refer him. Yeah. Like I'm trying to make the right connections. Even if my best friend does it, but if my best friends may be too pricey or not a good fit or whatever the case is. Yeah. And so you can't, when you build relationships, they have to be very real, genuine relationships, but you also have to have clear guidelines. You're not just going to refer people because you know them.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I love that. And I think that, you know, that opens a little loop here because we know you're starting a podcast, right? And is this part of, you know, trying to get in contact with more people, build more relationship and build strategic partnerships?
Yeah, the reason I want to do long-form relationships or long-form content and podcasts, like 3-hour podcast, is because I realized that I invited all these CEOs on a podcast I had a couple years ago, and nobody knew why they were successful, no matter how big their company was. All of them never strategically thought about most things in their business. They just like found out how to scale or how the right, you know, like whatever. It was just like very like, wow, you have a $10 million business, you have a $50 million business, and you don't have a clue about, you know, like it was just kind of like, it was amazing how like it just shows that in America, because we're capitalist, all you have to do is decide you want to be successful and you can be successful. All it is a decision. Because I saw a bunch of people that like really did not strategically think about most things. And they were running $50 million companies. And it was these short, ask the same questions every time, and it got really boring and just like, everybody's got the same story. Nobody has real answers. And so I decided, man, I actually want to give up all the interview BS that you do and I do. You know, think about like when you like, and I just want to cut all of that and sit back and be like, so you ever cheated on your wife? Why'd you do that? Were you in a really bad spot in life? How did you get there? Like what led to that? What led to redemption? Yeah, like that's going to be a 3-hour can of worms right there.
Absolutely.
And so I just wanted to like get to know people and film it because that's real content that people really relate to. 1, and 2, it's me and this dude that doesn't know each other talking deep life stuff for 4 hours. Yeah, and so that takes me growing that relationship exponentially quicker.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the reason I do like a bunch of things. So it's like my key to growing relationships, and it could change, but right now it's podcast, poker nights, and dinners. So I want to invite a bunch of people over for poker because it's 4 hours of us just, you know, getting to know each other. Yep. Same way like playing golf with somebody, it's 4 hours on a course. The difference with poker is it's 12 people around a table where you're only going to have 3 other people playing golf. And some people get so into golf that they can't really think right. And so you're not, you know, because they're like so frustrated or whatever. Where poker, it's like most people are pretty chill playing poker all the time.
They can focus because the first holes you don't play good, and then on the fourth one you're like, you want to bet?
And so
Poker night and stuff.
Poker night and dinners.
there's
Podcast,
there's
poker night,
podcasts, there's poker nights, there's dinner. Dinner's the same thing. A lot of people, community, food, long form stuff. Like why'd I put a pinball machine in my home? I bought a pinball machine from 1957 for $800 on Facebook Marketplace, and it's all mechanical and it's super cool.
Yeah.
I've never played ping pong in my life. I just thought it would be a cool thing that maybe anybody in their 60s, typically not 50s, maybe somewhat 50s, depending on where they grew up playing pinball a lot. Like this was a thing you did.
Yeah.
If you like, I guess as you grew up in the 70s, because if you're in your 60s, you'd grow up during the 70s. I think I'm not great at math. And so I thought, okay, who's the CEO of most companies? They're in their 50s or 60s. So I wanted to come to my home, see that, and then be like, oh, this is so cool. Like I'm doing anything to relate with. I'm doing, like I'm very strategic about all this. And it's like the reason, like I bought a super dope cloud couch. And it was the only reason of like, I just want when people come to my home, they're like, wow, he's got the TV, he's got the pinball machine, he's got the studio. Like, I just want to hang out here. I just want to be here. Because my goal is to build relationships because that's how everything scales. That's how everything happens. Like how I got investors for Rabbit was through relationships. Like how I get clients is through relationships. Like the only reason you guys have this contract with healthcare is because I know Pablo who knows you.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Or else it'd probably be whoever ranked highest on Google when I was doing a Google search for micro content creation would have gotten the job.
Yeah.
Because I would have had no context of where to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Dude, today has been mind-blowing, amazing. Thank you for being super honest.
We're going to cut it at hour 5. We can't go 3 hours.
We
I know, right? I'm that. I mean, we said
I am down.
You're leaving Saturday, so we need to ask the girlfriend. Is she okay with that? Right?
She's like, I'm used to this. She's like, let's go.
I am curious though. So you said podcast, poker night, and dinner. Where do you usually take people for dinner?
I mean, at my home, yeah. So
it's at your house.
A big dining room table.
Okay,
my plan
cool.
is just to my girlfriend, who I won't say her name. By the way, I never mention my girlfriend by name or anything or tag her on Instagram, and it's just because when I do stuff that's controversial, I don't want anybody trying to kill her, and so I never mention or post photos only for her security. If everybody, I have a girlfriend, I fully state that everywhere.
They secretly have the Men in Black machines, so they'll do that to us when they leave the studio.
And so anyway, my girlfriend's an incredible cook, and
nice.
and I love. I love ice cream that I buy from the store to serve after.
I can see here on your page that your favorite flavor
now, what's your favorite?
is salted peanut butter with chocolate flakes. There we go.
Oh, delicious.
Only from Ginny's.
Only from Ginny's. We're gonna
so I look at dinners as, whether it's smash burgers or it's tacos or it's pasta. I mean, it can be simple, but everybody loves a nice home-cooked meal. And I think it's just a good way, like community. And we haven't had anybody ever yet. Really nerds, I say this. We got to Dallas and we're still getting settled in, and we're pretty much there. I've been traveling a lot. Come January, we can really start to test some of these theories. If they don't work, if nobody wants to come to our dinners, or I can't get it, it's cool. We'll do something else, But
absolutely.
It's all about trying.
We told you yesterday we have 2 people that we think are gonna be a good fit for trying those dinners at your house. So we'll definitely make those introductions.
We'll make those introductions, man. And again, this is the reason we had to end this. Well, part 1 is I do have a call, so that's it. It just sucks because we were able to book you in your busy schedule with our schedule, but this we need to repeat this 100%. I can only dream of a studio like yours next time you come in. So after you consult with JWB, maybe we can get you in here. Like, Nate, what's up? What's the Biz Bros vision here for the studio, man? And I appreciate you for everything that you've done, everything that you talked to. I think it has been probably one of the most honest conversations that we've had here on the show. I appreciate you for that. Yeah. Thank you. From doing it in a different setup, to not background music, man, and it's okay, right? Because
I love it. Yeah.
It's about the material, it's about the conversation that we can have. So how do people connect with you? How can people find out more about you, about your companies, about what you guys do, or about Rabbit?
Yeah, so nathanruff.com, nathanruff.com, and that redirects to my actual website, which I won't say because it's just difficult. And then my Instagram's at the Nathan Ruff. I use that a lot. And then my number is 615-280-0878. You can just text me or call me or whatever. That's obviously not my main number. So I do have an iPhone. So when you're like, oh, it lights up green. Yeah, I'm not going to give you my iMessage number, but that's my second number that you're welcome to text or blow up, and I could block you or whatever the case is. But I want to be easy to access, so that's kind of the best way to go about it.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Thank you again so much. I appreciate you guys coming here to the studio. And with that being said, guys, thank you so much for tuning into the Contents Profit Podcast. Go ahead and subscribe. Smash that subscribe button. And follow us on social media at BeatsRosCo.
That's right. And if you find this episode impactful, which I am sure you did, please don't forget to share it and leave a 5-star review. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.